Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. It's the Trequartista and today we are looking at teams to manage in FM 2019. I've brought up my top 20 that we'll go through in a second. I wanted to do this last year. I kind of bottled it because I didn't have a channel up and running, but I do like these videos and I thought, right, I will do my top 20. It's based around teams across Europe. And if you know me sort of like on Twitter and stuff, I do like a fallen giant, so teams that have maybe dropped down the leagues. But maybe still have the potential to bounce back. Let's dive into it. So at number 20, I've got Deportivo La Coruña. All right, so recently relegated from La Liga. Deportivo were champions back in 2000. So when I was growing up as a teenager, they had the likes of Diego Tristan, Dalminia, Roy Mackay. But since then, they've fluctuated a couple of times, I think, through the leagues, and then recently, in the 2017-18 season, being relegated back into the Segunda division. They have got a slight bit of potential. The squad probably will be good enough as it is at the start of the game to bounce straight back without too much of a problem for you. However, there is a lot of debt, and I mean a lot of debt. The Riazor, the ground is half decent. I think it's about 34,000 off the top of my head. It's a bit of a guess. But I think you could probably get into La Liga into the second season and then build from there. Obviously with TV deals, as the more time you spend in La Liga, the more the money goes up in terms of money. I think you'll be able to get into the top half of La Liga very, very quickly. It'll be just then breaking into maybe past sort of like the Bilbao, the Villarreal, the Valencia, the Sevilla, and then potentially moving on to the big three, Atletico, Real and Barcelona. So that is my first one, Deportivo at number 20. Right, at number 19, I've kept this one close to home. I've gone for my own team, York City. Now, not just because it's my team, but if you're not aware, York City have suffered awful time over the last sort of like 3 seasons. We were relegated twice in a row from League 2 and then straight down onto Conference National into the Vanarama North, which we are now in. We failed to even make the playoffs last year. We've had sacked managers, I think, for the last 4 or 5 seasons in a row. We've had big budgets for the leagues and still managed to get relegated out of the Vanarama, and a big budget last year against a lot of part-time teams, and we couldn't even make the playoffs. Now, it's not all doom and gloom. At the end of the season 1, you will have a brand spanking new stadium, which is provided by the council. So that should help you in terms of money, because on the game, the York City current ground bleeds money in maintenance costs. So that is one big plus. You got a new ground. The club is also pretty big. You should be aiming at maybe about 3,000 fans, even in Conference National. So there's the potential to easily get into Football League. However, with York City being a full-time club, big wages, you need to get into League 2 as quickly as possible, really, before the debt really kicks in. And finally, you have got John Parkin up front, the legend that is John Parkin, to lead the line. He will get you, if you don't retire at the end of the first season, at that first season that you have national, I'd be surprised if you don't get, well, number 1, you don't get promoted, or at least get into the playoffs, and number 2, he doesn't get you 20 goals or more. All right, so that is York City, number 19. At number 18, we have gone for VIITORUL Constanța, a Romanian football team owned by Georgi Hagi. He made the club, I think, from a team that was going possibly bankrupt back in 2008. They have had pretty decent success. They won the Romanian. They've progressed through the leagues very quickly, and then they won the league in the top division, and I think it was 2013, 2014. Since then, they've wobbled, but not too much. They've sort of like finished 4th, 5th in the last few seasons. However, they have built a fantastic youth academy. I think it's called the Hagi Football Academy, which is linked to the football club. So you should get a decent number of youngsters. Everyone who's played the game over the last few years should have had them Romanian players that come through. Not very often, but they do come through. So that could potentially lead on to you not only dominating Romanian football, but potentially selling those players on into the bigger clubs in Europe. If you can also get into the Champions League, get into the group stages, the money is massive. I think once you get into it the first time, I think then it builds up your reputation and hopefully can be not just making an impact in Romania, but also maybe getting into group stages on a regular basis and going on a bit of a cup run, maybe in the Europa League as well. To finish it off, Georgi Hagi's son, Ioannis, is the club captain at 19 years old. I don't actually know how good he is in FM18, but I imagine if he's the club captain for this season, he must be pretty decent. we're moving back across, closer to home. Number 17, we're at Saint-Etienne, the most successful Ligue 1 club. They've got 10 titles to the name. However, the last one was 37 years ago. I like the idea of France just because it's very top heavy. Even in terms of Monaco, I think aren't really going to be able to compete with PSG. Other teams are doing all right, so Lyon, Marseille. But I think this is a club that you could really build up into a decent powerhouse. They've got a big stadium, 42,000, so the fan base must be there. I think they're actually debt-free. And they've also got some great older players. They've got Remy Cabella. I think they've definitely got Roufflet, the goalkeeper. One player that I picked up a lot of the times on somewhere around FM16, 17. And Loic Perrin, the veteran central defender / sort of like anchorman. He's also there as club captain. The idea of that is, can you getting into the Champions League? I think you'll be able to do within 2 or 3 seasons. And then can you long term look at toppling the money in PSG? I think a lot of people might head over to France in FM19 just to see if they can dominate with a different club and knock PSG off their perch. All right, number 16, we are back in England. We're looking at Bolton Wanderers. Now, they are in financial peril at the moment. They've just avoided administration. However, I think between now and the game coming out in November, this might still be an issue where you might even start the game. If you start the game with Bolton, you might start with a 12-point deduction. It's a tough ask because of the debt. The club's not the biggest. The squad's not the biggest. There'll be a lot of loanees in there. And also with the Championship being so strong. However, I think if you can get a new owner in, which may help if the club does go into administration, and you get a debt-free club over the next sort of like 3, 4, 5 years, build a team to get into the Premier League. I think once you get into the Premier League, you're sorted because the money that you have, everyone should be good enough to at least try and stay in there. And also Bolton would be good to bring back the glory days. So Big Sam's team, when he had all them old legends, if you want, I would do it because how I would play the game, I would look at the over 30s that are on the free transfers at the end of the season. So look at you. Who did they have? Djokaev, JJ Kocher, Fernando Herrero, Ivan Campo, El Hadj Diouf. Who else did they have? Nicolas Anelka was a great signing. Kevin Davies. So they had some very, very, very good footballers. All right, so that is Bolton Wanderers, probably one of the hardest ones on the list. At number 15, we have got Galatasaray, a club that I just love in terms of the fans, the atmosphere that they have at their home ground, and the kit. I've always been a big admirer of the kit. Now, you currently take over Galatasaray in a really strong position. They're actually league champions from the 2017-2018 season for a kick-off. They're a massive club. I think the ground is like between 55 and 65,000 sold out, not a problem. So you should be able to dominate Turkish football pretty easy. However, the debt, according to FM18, is absolutely massive. I'm sure it's around £250 million, which when you think for a Premier League club, that wouldn't be a huge problem. But I don't think Turkish football will get the amount. I think it's quite well paid in terms of prize money, but I don't think it's on the level of what obviously the Premier League is. I think theirs is performance related, that they get like 500k a win. So obviously the more games that you win, the better. The idea is that you get Galatasaray back into the Champions League. They've really suffered in Europe since they won the 2000 UEFA Cup. They've had a bit of a stinker. I think the low point was actually they lost to Östersunds in one of the qualifiers in the 2017-18 season. They lost to Östersunds, who ended up eventually going out to Arsenal in Europa League. However, can you at least maybe get a Europa League win in there? And also I'd like to see their hero, all-time leading goal scorer, Hakan Şükür. Can you get a Turkish superstar in the team and one of the best strikers in Europe? Right, number 14, we're back home in England. We're looking at Newcastle. So, real life problems off the pitch and even on the pitch now. Is it a Sunderland 2.0? A disinterested owner who's not putting the money in, not backing the manager, a squad that is very poor. They're playing poor football. Benitez is half proving a point by saying he needs new players, but I don't think him being the way he is, I don't think that's going to change Mike Ashley's way of how he works and how he spends money. It's a massive club though. The ground, the fans. I always see in FM challenges, can you build a club's reputation up? Now, if your club has 55,000 fans every week, there's always a chance that you'll be able to kick on into that. For Newcastle, that'll be kicking on into that top 6 as soon as possible. The good thing about Newcastle is as well, you create a legacy. They've absolutely won bugger all. They've not won out since 1955, which I think was an FA Cup. I think they've won a couple of league titles. I think that was before the war. And then an FA Cup in 1955. There's a couple of players in there, but you might have to sell them on to start with to get some money back into the club. So you're looking at Lascelles, Perez, Shelby, I suppose, depending on what FM19 do with him in terms of upgrading, downgrading. So that would be an interesting challenge. I kind of see a lot of people using Newcastle in FM19. Right, number 13, Standard Liège. From Belgium. Have a rich history, but recently have kind of fallen behind the top two in Club Brugge and obviously Anderlecht, two of the big two in Belgium. They did actually finish second last year in the Belgium league, so they're going to start the game in the Champions League. Now, it will only be qualifiers, which I think they will struggle. I think they got knocked out 5-2 on aggregate, I think it was, to Ajax in the third round qualifying. So it's a big ask, but once again, if you can get into the group stage, you get an easy draw, especially the first time round, you could potentially get, what would it be, about 14-15 million off that, maybe even more. I think with everything included, you're looking at maybe 20 million just for winning the Champions League. That would add some serious money to the club, because obviously the Belgium league won't provide anything in terms of prize money noticeable to really push the club on if you wanted to do something on a European stage. However, the youth system, the youth development and the facilities are all around 16, 18s out of 20 in the game. So they must have some really decent youngsters coming in there. So I think Standard Liège, for you guys that like to nip around the countries and build a sort of like not only a club but also a nation, so building the league up, a bit like Fox in the Box did on his Twitch saves in Portugal with his Casa de Pierre or whatever they're called. What he did, where I think Portugal is now the top team in the world in terms of the league and the reputation, the money and things like that. So that could be something you could potentially do with Standard Liège over a long period of time. But the foundations are there with the youth system to get in, get some youngsters in, and as I said, you've got that Champions League football carrot in the first season. Number 12, Palermo. Another team picked number 1 because I love the kit. They're still in Serie B. They got relegated a couple of seasons ago and then missed out on promotion last season in the playoffs. The squad, nothing stands out, but at the same time, Serie B is pretty poor. A lot of the teams, the bottom 3, 4, 5 teams in the Serie A and the top 3, 4, 5 teams in Serie B sort of like fluctuate between the two divisions. Money will be tight. This isn't going to be an easy save, especially with the teams that you've got in Serie A to compete with at the top end. So the resurgence of Inter, Milan, Fiorentina have had a good start, Roma, Juventus, Lazio. It'll be pretty tough. And also you've got the chairman to deal with, Maurizio Zamparini. He's had 13 managers in the last 2.5 years, including 8 in 2016 alone. So it's going to be a difficult save. I think they've got some kind of debt, but I don't think it's anything too stupid. Once you get into the Serie A, you're looking at around, after a few years, you're looking at about 50 mil in terms of TV money and stuff. So potential there. It will be a slow build, I think, but a chance to get a team from Serie B with a decent enough reputation, decent enough fan base. And also, over the last few years, you probably will know, but they've had Cavani, Pastore, Belotti and Dybala, just to name 4 players that have not so much come through the youth system, but they've managed to get from South America. So they might have a couple of decent scouts in there. Can you get the next Cavani or Dybala from South America? Number 11, one of my favourites. I maybe should have put these slightly higher looking at it. Leverkusen. Maybe I've kept them so far down the list just because I see it as a potentially easy challenge. Not an easy challenge, but an easier challenge than some. Leverkusen have never actually won the Bundesliga. A smallish stadium of 35,000, but there's going to be a big draw to Germany in FM19, especially with the licensing and the money and the fallen giants that I'll speak about in a bit. But I just thought Leverkusen was a save that a lot of people might do and beat it. I actually decided to do it in 18 and got sacked after about 4 months. But I think they start in the Europa League. If you can get back into the Champions League, I think the budget you'll get, I think you win the Bundesliga, you get about 80-90 mil, and then you've got your Champions League money on top. Plus, the players that you've already got there to it, you've got Havertz, Brand, Jonathan Tah, Heinrichs, Volland, and then they've signed Paulinho, not the Barcelona one who's buggered off back to China, but the wonder kid who's been really good in a couple of content creators, FM19 saves. Key right for about 20 million euros from Brazil. So you've got him as well. And then with this one, you've got a chance to build a legacy. They've never had, as I said, I think they've won one DFB Pokal. So they've got close to the Champions League a couple of times. But can you not Bayern off their perch? I think that's not only a short-term save that you could potentially have as a beta, but a long-term save as well. Creating a legacy, winning titles and title after title, Champions Leagues and cups as well. Guys, that's it for today. We'll leave it there. We're going to do part 10. Teams 10 to 1 will come out tomorrow morning for you to watch. If you've enjoyed today's video, please drop a like in there. As I said, subscribe to the channel. If you are starting an FM19 save, I want to know in the comments who you're choosing and why. Who have I missed off? There is a couple of clubs that I know that I've missed off because I've started with about 30-40 teams. Let me know in the comments, and we will see you tomorrow morning for the teams 10 down to number 1. Cheers, guys. See you later.
But still, Badger. Oh, yes. Oh, yes.